Welcome to the InvestFourMore Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Ferguson, and I am your host. I'm a house flipper. I flip 10 to 15 houses a year. I own 13 rental properties with a goal to buy 100 by 2023. I'm also a real estate agent. I've been licensed since '01. I run a team of 9. We sell close to 200 houses a year. So on this show, we like to interview house flippers, landlords, and the best real estate agents in the business. So stay tuned for some great shows. If you want more information on my rentals, on the numbers, how I buy properties, check out InvestFourMore.com. Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with InvestFourMore, and welcome to another episode of the InvestFourMore Real Estate Podcast. I have a great guest on for today's show, Vinney Chopra. Hopefully I pronounced his name right.
Yes, you did, Mark.
Great. He's a broker in California, has done a lot of syndication deals with apartment complexes. I believe he has over 3,000 units, almost $200 million, or maybe it's more than $200 million in value in apartment complexes right now. So Vinney, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm here in the sunny California, in the Bay Area. Yes.
Yep. It's 30 degrees and snowing in Colorado right now.
Oh, no.
Well, Vinney, can you start us from the very beginning? I know you actually came from India. How did you first get involved in real estate, and how did your career first start off?
I would love to, Mark. Actually, while I was in India, even in the junior high school, I really wanted to come to USA. I had a desire to come here, land of opportunity and so forth. And I used to break a lot of toys and try to get into and put them together. So that's why I became a mechanical engineer over there in India. In New Delhi, I grew up and worked for Larsen Toubro, a very big company in heavy fabrication, master planning, heat exchangers, actually, in Bombay, but still wanted to come out here for my MBA. I always thought that MBA will get me bigger paycheck, I guess, or, good combination of master's in business administration plus engineering. And I got accepted by George Washington University in Washington, D.C., but I couldn't get passport. It's amazing. Visa, actually. I had passport, but no visa. And they kept on denying way back when. And then I kept on just persistively, talking to the officers and what their objections were, blah, blah. And then I reached here. As I came here, it just happened that I got into sales and marketing by doing summer job and selling books, encyclopedias and Bibles and all. And that really gave me career in sales and marketing. And my degree was in marketing, MBA. It just happened so that, I felt like maybe I'm more cut out to be out there building relationships, presentations and things like that. So I left engineering behind and have never looked back. It's been a very exciting journey for me in USA for about 42 years now.
Wow. Obviously, you found something you love to do. And I went to school for 1 year for engineering as well and decided it was not for me either, and then kind of moved into business. But how did you first get into the real estate business? You become a broker? Were you an investor? How did that work?
That's very interesting. Actually, after my getting the degree MBA, I wanted to get a full-time job. Otherwise, I'll be deported in 1 year back to India. So I started to look around, and I found one of the company I was working with in summer months, their sister company was hiring full-time promotional consultants. And I said, oh, wow, let's do it. And it was, I remember, $10,000 straight commission first year starting, way back. And I said, okay, I'll take a chance, and that's what I did. And lo and behold, I stayed with that company 37 years. 37. I just kept on growing and kept on getting more awards and things and all. And so I moved out here in 1980 to California. They wanted to open a new division of the company, and they chose me, and I'm very fortunate that they let me come out here and We had just gotten married, my wife and I. So we moved to California. We never knew where California was, by the way. We had just seen it on the map. But rest is, our friend circle here in California. More we went to know more people, we got to know them. They were in real estate. And that's how it got started in our life. We just thought, wow, maybe we should invest in real estate. So we bought our first home for $99,000 in the Bay Area. Can you believe it? You cannot buy now that same house for $800,000, or something. And then we kept on also purchasing single family homes, as many as we could. Some years we bought one, some years we bought two, then we bought four in a big lot and went in Phoenix and bought some in Georgia and then we bought in Odessa, all that. But I think, to make long story short, it was about 2004, at about 13 years back, my wife said, you know so much about real estate and you do investments and other things. And I had a full-time job, of course, with my company, Motivational Speaking and Fundraising, which I was doing. And this was my side hobby, I always got fascinated by learning more on the internet and so forth and reading a lot of books. So that's what happened. 2004, I said, okay, I'll sit for broker exam. I don't want to be a salesperson in real estate agent. So I got a company from Hollywood. I think they presented some nice, very crash courses, how to learn real estate as a broker. And I did. I sat in it first time and I passed it. So I had knowledge of the material. And that's what happened. Then I said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with the degree now? With the license. And that's when we thought, should we open up like a broker company in real estate, or we go into some other field like investing? And I got introduced to multifamily right in 2004. And that's when I started digging into who are the top mentors and coaches and so forth. And I came to know about a wonderful person in Boston. His name is Dave Lindahl. And that's where I started looking at his book on emerging market. I bought that. And then one more book, I think, Multifamily Millionaire. I bought that one. And every page was highlighted. Everything, I was eating it up. I said, my gosh, there is such a big industry in multifamily. Why not I learn this, And that's what, I'm the kind of guy, I never knew anything about cash and cash or NOI or letter of intent, LOI before the purchase contract. Didn't know nothing about it. But again, in this life, you can just learn if you put your mind to it. If you have a desire to learn into the deep sense, you could do it, rather than watching TV or listening to wrong shows in the car. I call it, because many times we listen to so much negative, always news and all. So I just turned my automobile into an automobile university, I call it. A lot of CDs, CDs at that time. This is in 2004, 5, 6. And I got Dave Lindahl's course from eBay, I think, paid $300. I just wrote, Googled it, and I got 300 or 400, I think I paid. They were about 10 CDs or something. And I learned it in the car repeatedly. I would listen to it every day. Anyway, and then, I met Dave 4 years later, 4 years or so, 3-4 years later. Rest is history. So that's when I took my step into, multifamily syndication world. Really fascinated me because I didn't have much money at all. I said, oh, wow, I have friends, and if they can believe in me and they can invest with me, then I can provide them great returns.
Wow. So
kind of long-winded.
No, that's great. No, it's very interesting hearing, how that all happened in your story. And how many single family, do you still invest in single family homes at all? Or did you kind of stop once you found multifamily?
We sold them. Yeah, we sold them all, by the way. As we got into more multifamily, we kept on selling, and now we own just one duplex. Can you believe it? Only one duplex we own in Odessa, Texas, in Texas market. And I have a mortgage for about $600 some dollars, and we get $2,400 per month.
Wow.
Right. So I know.
That's not a bad deal. So
yeah.
what was your first multifamily deal like? How'd you find it? How long did it take you? What happened with it?
Totally. Actually in 1981, 81 or 83 maybe, we were not a limited partner in a very nice multifamily, 165 units, I think, in Reno, where I invested my money with the general partner, and they didn't do a good job. I'm sorry to say that, because, we only got the money back and maybe a little bit change, and that really showed me that, how if I become a syndicator, if I become a sponsor, I need to take care of my investors, because that was not a good experience. But then in 79, I'm going back, sorry, this is the wrong number, 2000, we are looking at 2007 now, sorry. That's where we started looking into multifamily a lot more, and then 2008, the crash came. I always felt the need that I need to have the money committed, not put into the bank yet, but I need to have a base of investors who would then walk with me to the finish line, right? As an engineer, I'm already thinking about systems. So I said, okay, I need to build my base of investors so that, and we had almost, to be truthful, almost $1.5 million committed. And then with the market changes, it went to half overnight after the crash. So answer your question, when we bought our first property, it took us almost 9 months to a year. And we bought a 14-unit building in Odessa, Texas, actually, on Monday. And then we bought 109 units, and it also had 101 storage units in the same lot. We closed that one on Friday. So we were working on 2 deals for almost 6 to 8 months. Can you believe? And this is in the crash of the time. Nobody will give us the loan, Mark, and they will say, where do you live? We'll say, oh, we live over here. My partner and I, we lived in the Bay Area. And they said, what? You're going to buy in Texas? And all the problems, So then we found this 14 unit. We just didn't have to get, we did get the local bank, CNB Bank, to give us the loan. Now I remember I qualified for it. And then the other one, 109 units, no Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or any local bank will give us loan at all. So we actually ended up talking to the seller to seller finance it. And he didn't want to do at 20% down or 30%. He wanted 40% down, by the way. And we did. We raised that much money. That was our very first deal that we did, big one. And then I think we sold it already, by the way. It went from $2.4 million to $5 million when we sold it. And then we gave returns back to the investors with the cash flow and everything. I think my investors made 43.3% per year. That is, we held it for about 5.5, 6 years, Yeah.
Wow. Not a bad return.
Not a bad one.
I've had quite a few apartment syndicators on my show. And
Sure.
One thing that made me want to interview you, which I thought was interesting, is a lot of the other guys have had a really hard time finding deals lately. And I even talked to some big hedge funds that buy apartments and said they're having a hard time finding them. But you've bought quite a few in the last year, right?
Yes, I did. I bought 12 syndications. I did. In other words, I got 12 apartment buildings bought all off market. And I would love to share my tricks of the trade.
Please do.
How it happened was, Mark, I was actually with my team and partner. I'm not alone with my big team behind me. we were buying like in Odessa, Midland, San Antonio. We came to San Antonio in 2009 and 10, started buying there. We bought near Alamo Heights, 6 or 7, I think, San Marcos, Seguin, near Austin, all that. Then when I opened my new company 3 years back or so, it's been just about 3 years now, Monil Investment Group, which is our kids' name, Monica and Neil. We combined the two. And my wife and I are 100% owner of that one. We don't have any partners in them. So that's when I said I want to differentiate and go to a new emerging market, And by golly, I went to Houston. I didn't want to go too far from San Antonio. I could have gone to Dallas or I could go to Houston. So I went to Houston and I started doing research. What outside Houston, some counties are going to get big job markets coming. A lot of money will be invested in what counties. And lo and behold, in 2013, we bought a property in a small town called Angleton, Texas. It's about 40 miles south of Houston. And when we closed on it, talked to the community manager there, she said, Mr. Vinney, I can't believe it. I've got 25 families in the waiting list. When she said that, my mind changed. I said, what's going on over there? I got to dig deeper into what's happening in that area. And lo and behold, I found out reports after reports after reports. And I do a lot of research. I'm just a junkie, to find all these different things on the internet, to find out what reports are telling, what jobs are coming, Chamber of Commerce. I talk to them. I love to talk to the mayors of the city. I'm a presentation guy, right? I have no fear. No fear is the word. So that's what happened. And then I went to ARA and Houston Income Properties and Marcus and Millichap and Transwestern and all these people. I flew into Houston. This is 2014 now I'm talking about, just 3 years back. Like in maybe April I flew there. I had appointments with 5 of the, presidents or vice presidents. And I said, this is the county I want to buy. Do you have any product? Mark, they all said, Vinny, there is no product. Would you like to buy this on the east side of Houston or north of Houston or things like that? I said, no, my studies say I need to be on the south side, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a broker, right, in California, but I made a meeting of in my thinking, 10 years back, I decided I will not take any split commissions from the brokers in Texas or anywhere. So in other words, when I share my ideas and I go with them, and then I, with my broker friends in Texas, I tell them I never buy from a buyer broker. I only buy from the listing brokers, right? Mm-hmm. So the listing broker knows the temperature of the seller because the seller and the listing broker are together, and there is full communication about the motivation behind why the sellers are selling. If there are more than one sellers, their personalities, what they think, how they think, what's their minimum they're expecting. They may say we want this much, but how much lower they can go to. And me coming right on the other side of the selling broker now, my selling broker is also my broker also. So dual agency, he's got a fiduciary responsibility on both. And I am now on the other side, like sandwiched. I call it as sandwich, right? The broker is in the middle. And I do not charge any commissions because I'm a syndicator, and I'll just give that money to make the selling broker or the listing broker double the money, right? So that's how I bought. And once I bought one time, they love making double the money. And I was hungry for more product and more product and more product. So I mentioned to them, if I were you, it's a humble request. If I were you, please look at your database for the last 6 years. Who did you sell multifamily in this particular county that I'm looking for? And maybe try to reach those sellers if they want to sell their asset now that you have a buyer. So, Mark, actually, I kind of created the market. And it took them 3.5 months, by the way, and I started getting pocket listings. That was the exciting part in my business. So I kept on getting pocket listings, and I was closing on one, then closing next month on another one, and 2 months later another one. So there were several, I call it napkin listings, by the way, because see, the thing is, many of the listing brokers are only talking to the seller on a napkin. They have not even put any operating memorandum together or nothing to blast it out, to the whole world, right? Or USA. But I tried to grab it right when the ink was not even dried, as they say, right on the napkin. And they would just tell me the address of it, give me the P&L in a day or so, and then give me the rent rolls. That's all I needed, for all these 12 properties, all the 12 that syndication I did. And lo and behold, I would underwrite them. I have very extensive tools I have developed, and I can just, do very quick analysis. And I have closed on all 26 deals with my team and I on every single one from the LOI stage to the contract stage. So when I give an LOI, I have a full package which goes right from the get-go about my profile, my letter of approval letters, from my lender, who's my team partner, my real estate attorney, he writes a beautiful LOI. LOI, letter of intent. And then, of course, I give a whole big package of why I will be closing, that deal. And I've closed on all 26 of them. Thank God. Touch wood. Touch wood, So that's how it has been for me in my world. And, now the investor base has grown. I started with only 4 or 5, investors who just, believed in me, actually. And then I've been pretty good in raising money that I was doing in thousands while with nonprofit and profit organizations with my other company, which I retired from now. And now I'm raising millions. So I can raise 6 to 10 millions in a couple of days now from my investor base. So that's kind of nice to have. And they're always looking for when is the next deal coming. Some were getting so angry. It's kind of good thing. God give us all strength. My team has grown quite a bit now, 67 people full time in my company in just 3 years. And I'm putting a $50 million fund now coming up in January. That's where I'll be able to allocate and have the money. I could do a cash call, and then money will be wired into the fund, right away to purchase. As I think some correction is coming, I believe that things are there to be gotten. It all depends, which market you are in. There is a lot more competition. I understand that. But it's good to have, for a syndicator like me, all my 26 deals, I have done it, specified offering it's called in the PPM world, private placement memorandum or syndication world, where I already locked in the property, and then I sent my attorney to put together paperwork for that particular syndication, we call it. And then, of course, I work like Dickens to raise all the money within that 60 days, to close it. So it's been successful, but I think my new model is to have this fund, $50 million fund. And once I have that finished, by buying 6 properties or so, I'm thinking in that one, and then we'll go to the next one and so forth, So answer your question, these have been, again, the idea is to let the broker know that you are in for performing. You're not wasting their time. That's a huge part, because a lot of time, we don't give them specific instructions, and what unit type we want, what areas we want, we need to be very, very clear with the brokers because their time is valuable. And the more respect we show them, the more respect they will show us, And my thinking is to text them, text them a lot, yeah, and then talk to them, FaceTime them, go and meet them, and so forth. And then let them know when they send something to us, give some time to look at the numbers and find out if it's not a fit. Then you got to respond back to them and tell them why it's not a fit. So by answering and keeping in touch with them and, sending chocolates and sending some gifts to the office and things like that, it really makes a big difference. It's a relationship building business. It really is. Like I say in syndication world, in my academy, multifamily syndication academy.com, I teach these lessons in a very simpler way, how to spin the plate of having the investor base and how to take care of investors so that they tell more people about you and more people. We never had a website for 8-9 years. I mean, all these 130 of my investor base are all word of mouth. And now only I just built the website, Mark, So it's just that, if we set our systems correctly to build the base with investors, secondly, to be able to build the base with the brokers, that's the other one, because you want to make sure that they are doing a great job, for you and giving you the pocket listings before. And many of them, I'm sure they gave the same listing to other people too. But the thing is, who takes the immediate step in looking into underwriting it, doing a police report, getting the people to go and take 100 pictures, in that area and so forth like that.
Yep. No, it's that's funny because I've been looking at some larger commercial properties myself, and I'm a broker, I'm an agent, but I have a commercial agent who's helping me because, for one thing, I'm not an expert in commercial, so I want someone else to run things by and make sure I'm not missing something. But also because that broker's in the business for 30 years, and he sent me a listing the other day. He's like, "Hey, I've got it listed, but it's not really listed yet because nobody knows about it except me." Yeah. And I'm like, I'm happy to pay him and the buyer's commission because if he's finding me a good deal. So no, the same exact thing. With your properties in Houston, did any of them get hit by the hurricane, the flooding?
We kind of lucked out, thank God, with the grace of God. I know this was in 800 years, this kind of waterfall, and the rains and all that. Out of my 10 assets there that I purchased, 2 I purchased in Atlanta, recent ones. So I have 12 in my new company, 12 syndications in two years and 2 months. But in the Houston one, only 2 got affected more. One near to the Clear Lake, that's where it's near to Houston on the west side of it. We got some flooded, and actually the flooding came from the creek. It's a beautiful property I own there, $3.6 million renovation. The seller had done it and moved it from a C class to a B plus. Actually, that got flooded. My 27 apartments got flooded. About I would say like 10 inches of water or 12, and we cut the sheetrock right away up to doubled of that. So I was there in Texas just recently, 10 days back. So we are just kind of, getting that patched up. Our office also is beautiful. Our media center and the resident office, that got also flooded a little bit. So we were able to cut that, and we'll be able to get sheetrock put back in there. Our 2 other assets had just some roof leaks, actually. That's all. And that was in Texas City also, which is near to League City and Webster and all that area, So overall, our, portfolio survived pretty good.
That's good. That was a crazy storm. With your apartments, complexes you're buying, I mean, I know obviously you want to add value to them. Are you buying ones that are mismanaged, that maybe the rents are low or need work? What kind of properties do you love to find?
Very good. What you said is all of the above. I mean, I look for assets which are already remodeled. For example, like the first one I bought in my new company, Albion, 8.7 million for about 192 units, and it's worth now $12 million. I couldn't believe it. The Fannie Mae lender called me. He's a good friend of mine, and he says, Vinny, we can give you 1.5 million supplemental loan on this property. I got a call. This is after 2 years. The reason was because I was able to add value with the media centers. Also, I like to put pet stations, and also we'll be able to cafes. I make cafes in we change our property's name always to villas. As growing up in India, I really like the word villas, and that's what we do. Our name brand is, the name of the property, then villas after that, And in Georgia now, we are putting villas in the front, villas at Riverside, villas at Autumn Hills, things like that. But answer your question, yes, I look for mismanagement of the property, like the one I just bought, very good property for 37,600 a door, 267 units outside Atlanta, and I got it almost $2 million cheaper because the seller was from New York, I think, multimillionaire, but he never came to Georgia. And, his property was not well taken care of, Anyway, and the rents were low by $200, Mark. Can you believe it? $200 to $250 on the same street. So he was not being served right by the management company. And no, it was not even management company. Actually, these people reported to him. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's what I was told, anyway. But I look for properties which are renovated, like the one in Webster, the one which got flooded. It had 3.6 million renovation in there, but the Albion had 2.5 million renovations already done. But I have bought other properties with value add, like in Monaco Villa in Lake Jackson. I was going to buy it first. Actually, I bought something else in 2013, but then I ended up buying the same property for $2 million more in 2016 or 15. I forget now. 15, I think. Yeah. 2 years later, I paid $2 million more, but I paid 6 some million. Now it's worth 11 some million because the seller was mismanaging it. He didn't want to put money into the leasing office, which was the crown star of this property in Lake Jackson. They had shut down the leasing office for 2 years, actually. This is when I was going to buy it. I wanted to fix the leasing office, and some of the 3-bedroom units, buildings were down because of sewer lines fallen down, But they just were myopic. They were running the whole operation from a 2-bedroom apartment as a leasing office, Anyway, but I bought it, and then I always institute also RUB system. That's the utilities bill back system. In my projections, I calculate all those things. What will happen to delinquency? What will happen to concessions? What will happen to RUB system? To utility bill back up to 92%. We can bill back the residents for the water, trash, gas, and termite. That's controlled. And that's what we do. Slowly, as we take over our own property. Oh, by the way, we also manage all our properties. So these 26 multifamilies we have bought in last 10 years, let's say, we also manage them ourselves. We had some very bad experience when we gave it out in the early years to very large corporation, and they were spending our money without telling us. And at the end of the month, there was very little left, for the investors. And as syndicators, we have fiduciary responsibility to give investors, our Class A members, 8 or 9%. They get paid first from the deal. or as we operate them, and then we get paid afterwards, and we pay quarterly. So answer your question, yes, bad management, utilities bill back, pet stations, cafes, and knowing in due diligence, even before I put it into the contract, with this property, the one I'm just saying, Monaco Villa, I wrote a blog on it. And the key thing was I knew plumbers to do the camera, to drop the camera in the pipe, to get me the video, how much it's going to cost to fix this, 16 units building, which was not attended to for 2 years. Can you believe it? For 2 years. It cost me only $28,000 to fix the sewer line underneath. And now this whole property, 160 units, every single unit is rentable. And when they were operating it, they had written off some of the things, and the leasing office was not open, and now it's open. And I built a beautiful residence center. We call them, media centers, and also a clubhouse, we call it. And then, swimming pool, I got it resurfaced. Parking lot was in shambles in this property. That was my number one thing, was to get a 160,000. I think I did the whole 9 acres of land, prime land, this property spread out on. So parking lot was one thing I knew I'll get on it right away, day one when I close, and I did. So the residents could see the difference right away with the brand new parking lot. And then my contractors, I think one time I approved 26 proposals, in just few days to start working on this particular, apartment. So then we also have our own preferred vendors that we try to get 3 bids. So we manage everything. Monil Investment Group buys it, and Monil Management Group manages it with my VP of Operations, VP of Finance, VP of Marketing, Investor Relations, and Acquisition, like that,
Wow. No, that's quite the operation you've got going, and you've done very well with many different markets. So very cool.
Thank you.
Well, I know we're getting short on time here. We've gone through a lot of different information and heard a lot of great stories on your properties. Do you have any, quick advice for people who are looking to get into either syndicating or investing in apartments themselves? What are some tips for those people?
I'm so glad you asked me that. I really would like to appeal to lots of investors, for exponential growth in your business and your income. Please get into multifamily. That's number one advice. And the second thing is, if you have a lot of money, go ahead and invest and buy as much as you want to right now, because the interest rates are low and the market corrections will keep on coming. I always have felt market cycles are different cycles in each of the local markets. You could be looking at Atlanta, for example. People say, oh, it's oversold. You're right, it is oversold. Dallas, oversold, yes. But in some pockets, you will still find great deals. So by building, network with brokers, you'll be able to really enjoy the benefit. And then please get into syndication, small syndication or big syndications, because that's the world. You're also helping other investors, accredited or non-accredited investors who have money. It's sitting in the IRAs or in cash or in stock market or bank. They are not making the kind of returns. You can actually provide them 8 or 9% returns like we do. And then on the back end, they get another 50 to 60% lump sum in 5 years. So they are able to make 18 to 24% return. Mark, that's what our averages have been, and some have made even 40, 43, like I said, 69, 49%. But, it cannot happen in every deal, right? So I would like to suggest to your audience to really dig into syndication. Is a very beautiful world. And it's also, you may not like to manage them, but you could get a good quality management company for multifamily to start with. But then you can be grinding, along with them, learning the business of managing along with the property management, and then you could start your own also. So I think it's a lot of peace and peace of mind when you know you are on the loan on these properties. The investors are not, because they are passive investors, classy members, but they get the benefit of depreciation, accelerated depreciation, all the profit and loss and everything. And these are, attorneys and doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs, CP, all teachers. I mean, all walks of life right around us. We have so much money right around us. We could funnel that money into syndication world and then buy. Because see, the thing is, managing a 5-unit apartment is a little bit difficult, or 12-unit or 15-unit. Managing 100-unit is much easier. It's amazing how the bigger numbers give you more leeway to have full-time employees or part-time employees and so forth,
Right. Now, great advice and information. Now, if somebody wants to contact you, I know you mentioned your website, but what's the best way for people to reach you, learn more about what you're doing?
Oh, sure. I love to chat with people and see if I can add value to them. I know a lot of times my team says, don't give out your phone number, but I like to give it. It's 925-766-3518, 925-766-3518. Please text me, and I promise you, I'll text you back, and then you could email me. My email is Vinney Chopra. Oh, no, Vinney at V as in Victor, I-N-N-E-Y, Vinney at Monil, that's our company's name, M-O-N as in Nancy, E-I-L, that's our Monica and Neil together. IG is for investment group, so monilig.com. And then the third way, they could always go to www.vinneychopra.com. Chopra is the same last name as Deepak Chopra, who is very well renowned author and speaker. And my first name is Vinney, V as in Victor, I-N-N-E-Y, Chopra, CHOPRA.com. And they'll get a lot of my free ebooks and blogs and a lot of my business plans and all. I give it free. And if they'd like to learn more about syndication, my multifamily syndication academy.com, they could, get some. I'm recording a lot of things. Turned 65 a couple of months back, Mark, and I'm just so excited if I can help out few people, more. So I'm just painting a vision for the next 10, 15 years to help more investors become syndicators.
Very cool. Great information. You are brave giving out your phone number. I don't do that myself. So
I know.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You've done some amazing work, and thank you for sharing with us some of your secrets and what you look for in properties. Yeah, but we'll definitely have to keep in touch and enjoy the warm weather out there.
Oh, thank you, Mark. And thank you for such a great program you have. You bring so much value to so many people. And congratulations on your successes and on your podcast and all your audience. God bless them all.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yep. Great. Well, thank you again. Yeah, we'll have to keep in touch.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.